Yeah. And it's so cool too when you know you're in that sweet spot, when you're in your sweet spot,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
God has you in this place that there's no better feeling. You know your purpose and everything that He's done with you. Let me get into the Baylor story. Because I'm a Baylor alumni, I've got to hear more about and walk me through the story about how it all came about in your visit to Baylor.
Yeah, so Matt Rule, I had known him from interviewing him on Sirius. Just knew that he was a fantastic man. Had yet to meet his dad, who's a preacher, and I got to know him through my relationship with Matt and Baylor. But when he got hired, early that year that he got hired, I started calling him, and I started emailing him saying, "I want to come. I want to come." I think this was in January. And he said, "I want you to come too, but you have to understand we are so hurt here, so bruised, so fractured that it's going to take a while." So I reached back out in February, and then I reached back out in March, and I reached back out in May. The thing about me with changing the narrative is I'm relentless. I mean, one of my old bosses said, and this is in my journalism career, but he said, "You're like a bulldog. Once you get your teeth in a story, you're not going to let go." And for me, when it comes to changing the narrative, there are literal lives that are on the line. There are literally one less victim, one less young man or young woman that falsely accuses or hits a woman or pushes a woman or does something. These are lives that are on the line. Young men that are taking their lives, that are just dying inside, like Tyler Helinski and the young man from Richmond. So when I get my teeth into something, I'm relentless. I will push and push and push. And if you don't like me, that's fine, because I know what I'm there for, and I'm there to make a difference, and I'm there to be used. And so I just kept reaching out, and he finally said, "We're ready." And so I had a conversation with everybody, like up the chain of command, like on their leadership board. And they asked me, everything about myself and about changing the narrative. And they knew that what happened at Baylor had been somewhat of a catalyst for starting changing the narrative. And what's interesting to me, and what was written by somebody at the time, is most people run from the things that cause them pain. Most people that run from the things, but I'm the person that runs to the house fire. I'm running to the problem. I'm running to the core issue. And I knew once Matt got there, Matt Rule, that it was somewhere that I wanted to be. And so we made a date for late June, and I went in there, and I can only describe this as like, it's almost even hard to describe. But when I went in there, these young men had been talked about by everybody outside of Waco. They had been called rapists and thugs and abusers and Title IX and no means no. And what I found out doing my research is there was not one player, not one coach, not one administrator, not one person in anywhere in that school anymore that remained from what happened. Yet they were all bearing the brunt of what had gone on before them, right? There were parents that emailed me that said, "I wouldn't wear my Baylor gear. You made me proud to wear my Baylor gear again." So I go in this room, they're there, and it was almost like, because they had been talked about and talked down to, they were like, I could see it in their eyes, like, "Oh, not another speaker. Here's another speaker." And they were closed off to me. And this most magical, just supernatural thing happened. I said, "I came for you. I believe in you. I believe in here is the next great father, the next great doctor, the next great man, the next great king. And I'm from the outside, and I believe in all your worth." And I have this saying at Changing the Narrative, that call somebody by who they were created to be and watch them rise up to it. We were all created to be kings and queens in his image. So I call these guys kings, and you can literally feel their soul rise up to it. And so as my talk went on, it was like these scales fell from their eyes, and these invisible walls like fell down, and it was like, boom, oh my gosh, she came for us. She believes in us. She didn't come to preach at us. She didn't come to yell at us. She didn't come to talk, down to us. She came to lift us up and tell us everything we could be. And so afterwards, I remember, I said, "I'm here at the front if anybody wants to, come tell me what it meant to them." And like 30 or 40 players waited behind. And they hugged me and they cried and they told me their hopes and their dreams. And they told me, one guy wrote in my book, I had a book with my notes there, and I was going to Alabama the next day to speak. And I opened it up in prayer before I went to speak at Alabama, and it said, "Thank you, Miss Rachel, for coming for us. We thought the whole world had forgotten us."
Wow.
Yeah. And I've been back a couple of times. Matt's let me sit in on his pregame meetings. I've been in their prayers. I've been behind them when they almost beat West Virginia last year. Year before last, excuse me, they it's been nothing short of miraculous. I ran the Baylor line with a heel spur and I almost got killed. I was holding the B flag. They gave me the B flag, let me go out first, thinking, she'll get a head start. About halfway through, I came up limp, and so I was literally like skipping, and all of a sudden it was the AYLOR. There was Ayler, not Baylor, as I almost got ran over by the Baylor line. But it's been nothing short of miraculous, and I've had people write it, and I do feel it, that I've been a part of their healing, and I do think that it was God's calling to go there. That a lot of people would not have gone there. They would have just continued to pile on negatively. I had no connection to Baylor whatsoever, other than the fact that I knew that Matt Rule was an amazing man. Like I said, got to know his family, got to know those players, and just feel so blessed that God let me be a part of that healing.
That is, wow, such a cool story. I love it. And you know what? Isn't it amazing just when you can call the destiny out, if you will,
Yeah.
out of people, to speak positive, encouraging, and loving words, especially those that have been beat down and feel unworthy and shame and guilt and all the other junk. I mean, the power of those words. They didn't know you from anybody, right? I mean, they didn't really know you, and all of a sudden you come in and just speak this blessing and positive encouragement over them, and all of a sudden it's like there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's hope for them, right?
There is nothing like it when you find out your destiny. To anybody who's watching this, and I'm going to be putting on a retreat in April in Nashville, and I'll give you more information on that when we have that to put out. And we'll be talking to people about this. When you find out your destiny, when you find out what sets your soul on fire, as you have with this podcast, with this show, with the website, with the book, with the movie, with everything you're doing, there is nothing that compares to it. Nothing in the world that compares to it. And when I have those boys or those girls in my arms and I see the light bulb go off, or a young man will stand in front of me with tears about to stream down his face and say, "Thank you, Miss Rachel, for reminding me I have worth outside of football. Where I come from, you're only good for football." And I'm like, baby, we wonder why our men have such identity issues when they're done at the high school level or collegiate level, or my gosh, the professional level playing sports. It's because we've taught them that their only worth and identity comes from sports. And so when it's done with them, they're left holding the bag going, who the hell am I? I don't even know who I am outside of sports. And so one of the biggest tenets, and one of the ways we started with changing the narrative, is figuring out what sets your soul on fire and running towards that with everything you got.
That performance-based love, and it is such a rampant thing, especially I've got a 19-year-old girl. I've got 3 daughters, and the oldest one played the basketball, select group, club teams, all that stuff. And one of the things I saw, and I've got this quote that I put out on social media from time to time: your child needs to know that you love them, you're proud of them, and you believe in them, no matter how well they play on the football field or basketball court or soccer field or whatever. And so, because I saw so many dads I saw dads walk away from their kids after the game was over because their kid played a cruddy game. And I'm like, are you stinking kidding me?
Do you know the damage you're doing to your kid?
They have no clue. And so with my girl, best I could, and I'm still learning. I screw up and still make mistakes. And
of course, we all are.
All the bad stuff, right? But after every game, win, lose, bad, good, whatever, I would go down and hug her. Made sure that she knew I loved her. And it didn't matter how well she played. I knew she did her best. It wasn't like she was out there trying to stink the place up.
Right. Yeah. And you get it, Dad. And one of the other things we teach a lot of things in changing the narratives is one of the practices we do is I want you to be the kind of person that can look yourself in the mirror in the morning and at night, take a good hard look. And I want you to be the kind of person that can be proud of the person that's staring back at you. And if you aren't, because of shame, guilt, unforgiveness, bitterness, whatever it may be, fix it. Be bold enough to be accountable to fix it. A king or a queen is not perfect. I am not perfect. Just recently, I acted out in a way to somebody that I love. And I believe this. Every emotion that we have is based out of two things, love or fear. Everything that we do is based from love or fear. And recently, I had an interaction with my boyfriend, and it was based out of fear. And I slept on it for about 24 hours. And then God got a hold of me, and, I got on my knees and I told him I was sorry. I said, I'm a queen, and I need to be accountable here. And I need to tell you, I want to do better, and that I'm working on this. And I think that's beautiful. I want parents to be able to do that. And if you got some junk that you're carrying, you may not know it, but you're projecting onto your child. You may be projecting on your child. So if you're happy, if you're good, if you're full, if you're healed and whole, you're projecting that on your child, right? And not to say you're not going to make mistakes, but if you got some stuff, some junk in your trunk, as I like to say, you may not even know it, but you're projecting that onto the people around you, the guy in traffic that you flipped off, the person at the grocery store line that you were, to. I mean, you're projecting that. So, really, wherever you are, changing the narratives for you, whether you're 66 or you're 60 or you're 30, and especially if you have children, let's fix what's going on in you so that when you what you pour out is lovely and beautiful.
Amen. Hey, I've got to have you back on the show. There's so much that we're like on the same page in so many different ways. So I love what you're talking about. I love what you're saying. Tell people how they can connect with you or reach out to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Twitter. I do, and as well, I know you do. I will say this, and I said this last night as we finish up here. I'm really mindful of how my tweets hit people. Okay. I'm mindful of the fact that when I send something that, I send it, and in 2.2 seconds, if that, somebody picks up their phone and reads this. Okay. So if I've added them, or if if it pertains to them, maybe they're just scrolling, right? So I'm really mindful of what I put out there. And I'm mindful of if it makes them smile, if it makes them laugh, if it encourages them, if it inspires them. And I'm mindful if I make them, if something I said made them cry or made them feel bad about themselves. So I really think it's so important to be intentional. It's so important. It's one of my big things in 2019 is intentionality and slow down. Slow down to appreciate and smell the roses every single day of your life and live a wonder life, right? And then also to really be intentional. So I'm mindful of that. I love to connect with people at Rachel Baribeau, RachelBaribeau. You can also find out about Changing the Narrative, and you can go to imchangingthenarrative.org. We're a 501c3. We empower these athletes that are voted on by their teammates. One at each team is voted on by their teammates. And when they get out of school and work with the NCAA, they're eligible for a grant to start their own nonprofit or to donate to an existing nonprofit. So basically, I'm encouraging them to find their own Changing the Narrative. So, we love people volunteering. I speak to churches and corporations and colleges and high schools. So really, I'm changingthenarrative.org or Rachel Baribeau on Twitter. And I love, love, love to interact with people. I love the work that you're doing. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I can't tell you, and when I come back on, we'll talk about, these young men and young women that I've so talked to that are missing fathers in their lives, and what men out there can do to pour into young people that maybe aren't even their children, because there are scars that are left and they can be overcome, but there are major scars that are left when we don't have a father present. And so I would love to continue that conversation with you.
Absolutely. Thank you. You're so kind with the kind words of encouragement. And I can't say enough about how much I love what you're doing. As we wrap up, I've got this little game I play, rapid fire.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You got to answer as quickly as you can. Are you
Okay,
game?
I'm ready.
If you could have dinner with someone dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, easy. And it not just because it was yesterday was Martin Luther King Jr. Day, but always. I mean, from a young age, read his books, everything, just been a voracious reader. Give me everything. Oh my gosh, I'd love to spend an hour with him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Beach or mountains?
Beach all day long. I just spent time in Pacific Grove, California, stared at the Pacific for 5 days. A sweet friend gave me his beach shack and just totally got quiet. Woo, beach, yes. And the Dominican Republic, have family there.
I was going to say, so the next question follow-up was Florida or California, so I take it California versus Florida?
Both. I also have family that's outside Jacksonville and Amelia Island. I love the beach anywhere. So I have my Dominican beach down in the Caribbean. I have my Florida beach and I have my California beach.
There you go. Favorite movie of all time?
Woo, Dirty Dancing. Woo. I mean, I'm a girl. You know, we all wanted to be Baby. We all love Johnny Castle. You know, come on now.
He was in his prime too, and then the one girl was like Jennifer Beal. Was it Jennifer Beal? Wait, what was her name? I can't even remember. But the one girl, it's like that was like her moment, man, and that was such a great movie.
And you know what? This is not part of your rapid fire, but do you know this is all about being who you are? Do you know that after that movie, she got a nose job, the main character, Baby, to look like everybody else? And they said that it was actually the downfall of her career because she no longer had this thing that made her different and unique. She looked like everybody else, and her movie career bombed. So what do I say that for? I say, you are unique, you are beautiful, you're amazing. That doesn't mean you can't work out, eat better, do those things, but you're gorgeous just like you are. You don't need to go having a nose job to look like everybody else.
You know what? And that's what I was going to go there for a second. It was like, but then it was like, that was her moment. And it's like, you never really saw her again. She was never any, that's an interesting story. I didn't know that. Last question. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh, I used to say it would be to read people's minds, but I'm terrified of that. I don't know.
And your boyfriend would be going, okay, she read my mind again. What is she doing?
Oh man, what would be yours?
You know what? The teletransporting, I think. If I could just one of my favorites, and I play this game with my girls when they were younger, especially. I'd ask them silly questions, and the one really good one we came up with is the teletransport. So like you could snap your fingers and be in heaven.
Yes.
Hanging out with all the people that had passed, or you could be in Florida or around the world.
California or Dominican. Yes. Yes.
That's really cool.
Can I steal that one from you? Because I feel like that, here's, if people take anything else away, hopefully they took a lot, but man, life is so precious. I have a mother that's battling stage 4 cancer, and she got diagnosed last July. And I tell people it's been the hardest, but yet most beautiful thing, because I've always been a lover of life and people, but I am a lover of this moment. I love you now. Like, I'll support you. I can't wait to hear from people that are touched by this. And so it's just made me realize life is so very, very precious. And so, yeah, the teletransport, that speaks to me as well.
I love, I try to tell, especially the younger dads, because I look back on my own life and think if there's one thing I would tell my younger father self is, man, just enjoy the moments.
Yeah.
Just soak up the moments, because I was so caught up in the chaos and business success and all the other stuff that I missed out on so much. I wish there's a few things I wished I could do differently, but that was one of them. Just be in the moment, right?
Be present. Be present.
Yeah.
Be present. I just saw a study that said that anytime you take a picture, you don't make a memory. It was actually a brain study that said that when you're videoing or when you're, taking pictures, and I love taking pictures, and I also encourage people to print them. We don't print pictures these days. When our grandkids go to look at our stuff, they're not going to have anything. Print pictures. But this study was talking about how you got to be in the moment, exactly what you're saying. And at concerts all the time, I see people with their phones up, and I'm like, I do this thing for really amazing moments in my life, and I go, and it's like my mind's camera, it's like, commit that to memory, Rachel. And you just hit the nail on the head. Be present.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I definitely got to have you back because I'm sure we could talk for hours.
We will. We will. Thank you so much, my friend.